Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie. I am a romance junkie. In the last couple of months, I have been doing just a monthly wrap up, which is kind of popular on BookTube. I read so many books in a month that it's super hard for me to discuss them with you and be able to get them all into a video that's not a ridiculous length. So I am going to go ahead and just do a semi-monthly wrap-up. I'm going to do from April 1st through April 17th. And then I've got a small book haul because I keep buying books. With that being said, I'm going to change things up just a tiny bit and I'm going to do my book haul first. So let's go ahead and just jump into the book haul portion. I usually try to look at thrift books and Book Outlet, and I go to thrift stores, anything I can to get the best prices on books because of how many I buy. However, because of the pandemic, everybody is not really restocking like they should be. Like thrift books hasn't really restocked at all in the last month, and it's super hard to find really good deals. Let's just jump into the books that I purchased on Amazon. The first book that I purchased is Take Me Down by Carly Phillips. This book was ridiculously cheap. It was like $3.50. I have no clue why it was so cheap, but I saw this. I knew that this author was supposed to be at Book Bonanza. Who knows if Book Bonanza is even going to be a thing, but I'm going to keep up the hope. The next book that I picked up is Come to Daddy. This is by Brianna Hill. I believe this is a sugar daddy romance. I've heard really, really good things about this by Library of Tomes, and I really enjoy her channel, and this is one of her very favorite books, so I cannot wait to start this one. The next book I picked up is Vicious by L.J. Shin. I have read this book. I really enjoyed it. I love the cover. Then I picked up Eleanor in Grey by Brittany C. Cherry. I have not read this one yet. I've heard wonderful things about it, and I love Brittany C. Cherry's work. The next couple of books I picked up is by Tegan Hunter. They are Let's Get Textual and I Want to Text You Up. I have read Let's Get Textual and I adored it. I thought it was so cute. I wasn't a huge fan of the conflict at the end, but that didn't deter me from loving this book. And I love the spines. I think they just are so aesthetically pleasing. I love how they're going to look on my bookshelves, and I really want to get the other two just so I can have the matching set. The next set of books I picked up is also a series. I waited because I wanted to be able to read them on paperback. It is by one of my new favorite authors to me, and this series is going to be made into a TV show. It is a reverse harem, and I love Coralie June. Love her writing. So the first one is Sunshine and Bullets. Then we've got Summer and Smoke, and last we have Love and Lead. My last book haul, I showed you that I picked up all of the Lux series. As soon as I was talking to some of my friends, they said, oh, you know that there's a spinoff of the Lux series, right? And I'm like, no, I have no idea. So I, of course, immediately had to buy them because I need everything Jennifer L. Armentrout now. I am freaking out. I am so excited about the series. You have no idea. Like, I'm like a little kid reading Twilight again all over. Like, I am just that excited about the series. And yes, I know I am like 8 years too late to the series. Like, everybody's already obsessed over it and have moved on. And as of everything I do, I'm late to everything. So why not be late to a book series? Reading the series has just been such a breath of fresh air for me. It has made me smile more than I have in a long time. I will talk about that more. But anyway, I did go ahead and pick up The Burning Shadow and The Darkest Star. And last but not least that I picked up at Amazon, I'm not going to talk a lot about this series because I'm going to talk about it coming up. You guys, you're going to want to stick around because I've got some really good recommendations this month. I have read a lot of 5-star books. I've had a very good reading month, and you're going to want to stick around for the next part of this video. But last two books I picked up is The Devil and The Devil's Advocate by Ashley Jade. I have never heard anybody talk about these series, at least especially on BookTube. Just wait. We'll talk about it soon. The last 3 books that I picked up, I actually went to the author's website and them up specifically from the author. She only had these 3. There is one more book in the series. I believe it's the 3rd book, and she did not have it in stock, so I couldn't get that one. But I wanted to buy these because they were banned on Amazon. And I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. I'm one of those people that I am all for forbidden and taboo. Like, the more forbidden, the better. And yes, I know that there's like a considerate age gap, like the girl's underage in this, but I'm still here for it. And I am super excited to have this series. And that, of course, is Balance. This is by Lucia Franco. I have the special edition covers for the first 2, and then I've got Twist. All 3 of these came signed to me. I am just beyond excited to own this. I mean, it's been banned on Amazon, guys. Like, that just has me excited alone. Alright, so that is it for my book haul portion of this video. Like I mentioned, I read 17 books in the month of April, from April 1st through April 17th, which equates to a book a day. I read 1 1-star book, no 2-star books, 1 3-star book, 6 4-star books, and 9 5-star books. As always, I have listed all of the books from my least favorite to my most favorite. Coming in last, in a book that I absolutely do not recommend, is The Last Boyfriend. This is by J.S. Cooper. This was a new to me author, and this cover really got me because, I mean, the cover's gorgeous. It had a really interesting blurb about it. I was just super intrigued, ready to go, and this book was a huge letdown. It was almost embarrassing how horrible it was. So this is about Lucky and Zane. Lucky's name, Lucky, who is our heroine of the book, her name is Lucky Star. So that right there already gets me eye-rolly. And she is a down-on-her-luck waitress, and Zane is a movie producer's son, and he does movies himself. He's kind of a playboy. He brings a girl in to the diner every single Friday, and he always requests her to be the waitress, I think, but he's there every single time with a different girl. He's never seen with the same girl twice. And she goes to some party and he happens to be there, and it's their relationship. This whole book was very, very badly written. There was a subplot that was happening behind the scenes where a local celebrity was trying to also hit on her, and he was a bad guy, and it was just fucking stupid. It was all over the place. I'm sorry. It was bad. Before I continue on with ranking the books and talking about them, I do want to say that I did start a new little process of whenever I'm writing down my books in my notebook, I am actually putting them in categories to kind of give an overview of some of the tropes or things that I liked or disliked in it. So I might be looking down a little more often, but that's because I'm going to be reading the categories, kind of give you a little more of the basics of the book without going into too many spoilery things. So the next book on my list, coming in at 3 stars, is Dare to Love. This is by Carly Phillips. This was the first book that I read by this author as well. I've heard good things about her. However, this book was just okay to me. It started out super freaking cringeworthy, and it got a little better, but I almost DNF'd it because it was so cringeworthy. I listened to this on audiobook, so let me just say, this is about Ian and Riley. So this has insta-love done wrong in it. It is a brother's best friend romance. It has a controlling hero and a likable heroine. It is a rich billionaire hero and a blackmailing abusive father for the heroine. A lot of overplayed tropes that are overdone. Well, obviously, they're overplayed. So It was okay. This is the very beginning of a series, so I might continue on with it later and see if it gets better, but right now it's just a whole bunch of overplayed tropes with nothing really unique about the storyline. It was a very quick listen to, and it was okay. The next book on my list, coming in at 4 stars, is Down on Me by Jay Kenner. First of all, the cover is just quite beautiful. I don't know if you can see that better here. There we go. So I really enjoyed the cover. I listened to this on audiobook, and I really enjoyed the audiobook for this. It does have some overplayed tropes and some things that I wasn't just like obsessed with, but I really enjoyed the fact that, first of all, this is about Reese and Jenna. It is a very sweet friends to lovers romance. They've been best friends since they were kids. They both kind of have these feelings for each other that both of them are kind of afraid to admit to, because if they do admit to them, then their friendship is going to change. And there is a third person in this friendship who is another guy in the group that is just friends with both the guy and the girl, and they kind of are nervous to have their friendship change. So something that I really enjoyed about this book is that both the hero and the heroine were actually really likable. A lot of books that I've been reading lately, back to back to back, have been super, super annoying heroines with asshole heroes who turn out to be good guys. But the annoying heroines are driving me crazy. And I actually really enjoyed the heroine in this. I enjoyed the fact that there was no slut shaming. There was a girl who sleeps with the hero at the beginning of the book, and the heroine finds out. And, like, she doesn't ever treat her badly. And I actually really appreciated that, because you don't hardly ever see that in books. I enjoyed this book. There is some surprise tropes in here that I wasn't a huge fan of, but overall I enjoyed the writing style. I really enjoyed the book. The next book on my list is Bound. This is by Brenda Rothert. This also came in at 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. Another new to me author. I listened to this on audiobook. It's about Reich and Kate. Reich is a hockey player. Yes, he is a famous NHL player, and he has lost his wife. This is from the very beginning of the book, so there's no spoilers there. He lost his wife in a car wreck while he was out playing hockey, and gets the news about it. And it's 2 years later, and he is going to grief therapy, where he meets Kate. Kate had a pregnancy, and she lost her pregnancy, and she is going there because she is in depression and is having a very rough time. And Wright kind of has a sense of kinship with her, and he ends up hiring her to be his personal assistant. And it is their relationship where it's two broken people kind of coming together and forming a bond and a close relationship. There was some things that I wasn't super crazy about in this book, but for the most part, I really, really enjoyed it. The next book I have to talk about is probably one of the funniest books I've listened to in a long time. If you are a fan of very funny books, rom-coms, then you will like this one. It is That Guy by Kim Jones. This is another new to me author. I listened to this on audiobook. I highly recommend it. There was so many secondhand embarrassment, cringy scenes where my face was turning bright red. I was like literally cringing, and yet I couldn't get enough. The heroine is just, she's not for everybody. I'm gonna say that right now. She is over the top and she's a little ridiculous. Coming in next at 4 stars is Sure Thing by Jana Aston. This is also a first book that I've read by this author. And I'm just reading all kinds of new to me authors, and I'm really enjoying it right now because they have turned out to be amazing lately. Sure Thing is about Violet and Jennings. Violet has a twin sister, and from the very beginning we know that Violet and her twin sister have kind of swapped places. Violet is going to work at her sister's job, which is basically chartering a tour company in Washington, D.C. So she's taking a group of tourists around to all of the sites and telling them about it. It's kind of a simple job. She knows what her sister does. She knows how to do it. And so she is doing this for her sister, but also for herself to make a little extra money because she was just laid off of her job. And The night before she goes on this tour, she ends up meeting a guy, and she goes to the bar and she decides she's going to have a one-night stand because when she lost her job, she lost her boyfriend, and she's wanting to get back out there, and so she wants to be that girl, the sure thing, for a night, just one night. She just wants to have one-night stand, and she meets this gorgeous British guy, and he kind of lights her on fire for a night, and they have this amazing one-night stand. And then that was supposed to be it, right? Well, not exactly. This book is very funny. It's quirky. It's different. It is very little angst. It's very kind of a simple, uplifting book. So if you are having like in between harder reads or something, or really rough reads, or something that you're wanting to cry over, if you're just wanting something light and fluffy, this is a really good book to read. I enjoyed it and I recommend it. The next book on my list is Ruckus. This is by L.J. Shin, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I know some people kind of thought it was boring. I didn't think that at all. I loved Dean. I loved Rosie. Once again, this was actually a heroine who I really enjoyed. I did not find her annoying at all. I liked that she had an actual illness. I liked the entire plot of this book. I loved that there wasn't just a shit ton of miscommunication or like stupid drama that's been on a lot of romance books that I've read recently. I loved Dean's character. I adored him. I loved that he went after what he wanted with Rosie. The ending really got me. It was heartfelt and heartbreaking, and it seemed realistic. It seemed like something that would happen with him going off. If you've read this book, you know the ending about the hospital scene and him like not showing up to the house that he was supposed to be on vacation. That scene is what I'm talking about. So freaking good and sad, and oh, that got me. I listened to it on audiobook. I highly recommend the audiobook for this one as well. Really enjoyed this book. The next book on my list is Faded. This is by Rebecca Zanetti. This is the first book that I've read by this author, and this is a paranormal romance. It is about immortals or vampires, whatever you want to call it. This book I read for my Book Babes book group, and we kind of had conflicting thoughts. Every one of us really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Some of them thought that it was a very typical paranormal romance, just about like every other vampire romance. I actually disagreed with that. I thought it was pretty different. Now, of course, it had the whole me, Tarzan, you, Jane aspect, you know, the you're mine, I'm going to claim you. That whole part of it was very, very standard vampire romance. But the actual action and the lore and the kid in this that was like the most powerful of them all, I thought that part was actually really unique. I really enjoyed. There was a shit ton of action in this. I almost censored myself. Why? I don't know. But there was a shit ton of action in this one. I really enjoyed it. It was crazy. This is about Kara and Talon. And another thing that I want to talk about is this book had, you want to talk about an annoying heroine. She annoyed the shit out of me. I hated Kara at times. Like, it was like, she's supposed to be a scientist, but she's the stupidest fucking scientist I've ever read about in a book. So she knew that she was with these vampires who were going to keep her and her daughter safe, that if she were to go out in the world, that there were these other, like the enemies of them that were out searching for her and her kind because they can mate with them, and she has powers. And so what does she do? She tries to run away over and over again. And every time she tries to run away, she gets caught or something bad happens. And then she comes back and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, she's trying to run away again. And it's like, oh, you are the stupidest fucking person I've ever read about in my entire life, and you don't deserve the hero, and you just need to go off and die. So, that frustrated me, obviously, but I still enjoyed this book, and I would, I'd recommend it. It was good. I'm going to continue on with the series. Gave it 4 stars, so there's that. The next book on my list, coming in at 5 stars, is Surrender. This is by Fiona Cole. As you all know, Fiona Cole is kind of an up-and-coming, really popular romance author. So this is Surrender. This is a novella. It is about Jake and Jackson, and Jake and Jackson are originally featured in Lovers, so you don't want to read this novella without reading Lovers first. Lovers is a male-male female romance, and it turns into a male-male romance. I love Jake and Jackson. They are one of my favorite LGBT couples. I love them so much. And yeah, it's just, it is adorable. It's super steamy. There's no angst. It's just them getting it on some, and it is really good, and I recommend, if you've read Lovers, you need to go out and read this really quick novella. The next 5-star book that I have to talk to you about is Ink. This is by Elizabeth Hunter. This is also a new to me author, and I fell in love with this book. It has very little angst. It's not very steamy. This is more, it's not necessarily fade to black, but it's not on the steamy side at all. But this is about Ox and Emmy. Ox is a tattoo artist. Emmy is just moved back to her hometown. Her grandmother owned a bookstore, and she inherited the bookstore, and she was going to sell it, but when she gets there, she realizes that she can't part with it, and so she has decided to reinvent the bookstore and reopen it. And there is space inside the bookstore where she needs to kind of rent with somebody else to make a little extra money. And next door to her, there is a tattoo shop, and the couple that are there are constantly outside fighting. Everybody sees it. They fight and bicker, and then the main girl decides that she's going to get jealous and mad at the hero, and she, the main tattoo artist girl in this book, throws out all of his stuff, and that's the end of their relationship. And so he has to find a place to start tattooing, and so they decide to partner up together, and they call it Ink because it is tattooing on your body, creating ink, and also the love of books, and it kind of went together. It just is a really cute book. I really enjoyed the story. Highly recommend. Alright, so you know that saying that boys and books are better? I'm totally going to make a t-shirt with that saying on it, and I just want to say that that saying was literally created for this book. That book is going to be Art and Soul by Brittany C. Cherry. This is about Aria and Levi is absolutely the most perfect book boyfriend of all time. He is just everything that is right and good and perfect in the world. This is a YA romance. Brittany C. Cherry does books so well that it doesn't matter what she writes, I'm going to read it. And while there was no really super steamy scenes in this because of the YA, I didn't miss a thing because I just adored this book. Levi is perfect. The way he treated the heroine, something happens early on and you know that she's going to go through some major things. She's in high school, and I'm not going to give anything about this book away. This book is so good. Levi is perfect. You should go out and read it. 5 stars. Such a good book. My next 5-star book I have to talk about is another. This is by Fiona Cole. And I just have to say, Fiona Cole can do no wrong in my book. This is a surprise pregnancy book. We know it going in. We know it from the very beginning, like page 1 or 2 or 3, we find out she's pregnant. And it is a surprise pregnancy book that I loved. I loved Ian and I loved Karina, and I just loved their story so much. If you want to really read the series, I would suggest reading Lovers first. Karina is the female that is in the male-male female romance, and her fiance ends up leaving her for another guy. And so she ends up meeting Ian, and they go on this blind date together, and it is steamy and hot and gorgeous and perfect, and she gets pregnant. And Then she doesn't know his last name, and he asked for her number, but she wouldn't give it to him because it was just kind of a perfect date, and he was kind of a playboy, and she just wanted it to be perfect, so she just kind of said no, like, and drove off. And of course, now she's pregnant and she can't find him, and it is just, this book is just perfection. I love Daddy Ian. I love him so much. Like, I love him so much. I love Fiona Cole. So we are getting into the last 5 books that I've read for this month. The next series I'm going to go ahead and talk about is The Devil's Playground series by Ashley Jade. Nobody is talking about this on BookTube, and I don't know why. They talk about her high school bully romance, but guys, this book, this series, what is going on? Why is nobody talking about this? This is like best of the fucking year. One of my top favorite series of all time. This book is dark and twisted and fucked up and so fucking hot. Whew. I mean, give me some of Damien any time of the year. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is about Eden, who is young, like 17, 18. I think she just turned 18. I don't think that there's any kind of like age consent. No. It starts out when she's 17. That's right. It starts out when she's 17, goes to her 18th birthday. They live in this small town. I can't give much of this book away. It is so dark and so twisted. It is about a couple of guys who may or may not have had something going on when they were teenagers, and they hate each other now, and they're going for revenge. One wants revenge, one wants to become a politician. This book is so fucked up, and it is just beyond anything I've ever read or will ever read. It's one of the best series. It is just so good. Go out and read this. It's on Kindle Unlimited now. It is so fucked up, and it is, if you guys are a fan of dark romance, I'm telling you right now, read this series. Why is nobody talking about it? I don't understand it. It is so good. There is male scenes, there's male female scenes, there is male female scenes. It does, book 2 does end in a happily ever after. I will say that. It is not, book 1 does not, book 2 does. There's nothing like disgusting or like, well, there's questionable everything in this book, but it is so worth it, and this book is just, Damien is, whew. Okay, I know, I'm not making any sense whenever it comes to the plot or anything, but I went into this blind. I think you should too. There's really just not a lot you need to know because it is just that good. Go out and read it, and then let me know in the comments below if you did. Tell me what you think. New favorite series. So freaking good. And look at these covers. I mean, come on. Ashley Jade is a new must-read author for me just because of this series. Like, I haven't read her bully romance yet. I'm not a huge fan of high school stuff anymore, but I'm gonna have to read it after reading this because this book, this series, I need more. Alright, and the number 1 series coming in that I've read, not just this month, but this year, and maybe even in the last, like, 5 years, I'm gonna go there. It's that good. It is the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I know. Where have I been, and why haven't I read this yet? I'm not sure, but I'm actually really glad that I waited because this series has lifted me up. It's made me smile more and laugh more and swoon more than any other book has in like the last 5 years. So Shadows is a prequel. I would suggest reading Shadows after reading the first 2 books. That's what I did. That's what I was told to do, and I agree with that. I highly recommend that if you haven't started the series, I would read Shadows after reading the first 2 books. So let me go ahead and just talk about the first book real quick. If you have been living under a rock like I have and have not finished the series or started it at all, so this book, if you are a fan of Twilight at all, this book will give you all the Twilight feels. It is about a girl who moves to a very, very small town out in the middle of nowhere, and she moves in to a house, and her next door neighbor happens to be twins, and they are mysterious and different and otherworldly beautiful. Sounds familiar, right? There's a lot of differences between Twilight and the series, but it is very similar in the feeling, in the vibe that you get, in the writing style, in the wondering what's going to come next, in the page turning. It is very, very similar, and I was swooning and laughing and just downright happy the entire time I was reading both of these books. These are about aliens, and it is a young adult, so there's no like super swoony sexy times that are happening, unfortunately. That's the only thing that's missing out of these series, but I just don't even care because I loved them that much. Obviously 5-star reads. Damon is like the coolest 17-year-old alpha hole you will ever meet in your life. He is an asshole hero. He is an alpha male. He is so great and swoony and just perfect, and I loved this series. I cannot wait. I have not been able to read anything else since I started this. I am now in book 3. I'm not going to read anything until I finish this series out, so you will be hearing me talk about this series a lot more coming up. Highly recommend. You need to go out and read this if you haven't. Okay, so hopefully this video wasn't ridiculously long. Let me know in the comments below books that you have been reading lately. What's some of your favorites? Is there any 5-star reads you think that I should read that I haven't yet? Let me know in the comments below. We'll talk there.